Hi, it's John. Now it's the 23rd of April and we've got an election coming up on the 7th of May, which is a Thursday. I think for some reason general elections are always on a Thursday. It must be a good day of the week for it. A neutral sort of day really, isn't it, a Thursday? I like voting. You know, it makes me feel good when I go down there and vote. I'm not normally particularly committed to who I vote for, but I do like to vote. It makes you feel like somebody. Now, my prediction for the election. Now, just by the way, a little while back, I thought that the winners would be the Tories with the UKIP. I thought it would be Tories and UKIP, and they would form an alliance, and they would form the government. And I was absolutely sure of this, so much so that I was going to put £100 on it. You know, I was sort of slightly working out how to put £100 on that vote. But I'm glad I didn't, because, well, it doesn't look very likely on this day, the 23rd of April, but it may do, because if there's a crisis in the Eurozone, which there could be at any moment, over Greece and possibly Spain, and also you've got the refugee problem now, UKIP could come suddenly back into favour. Now, in the last debate, Nigel Farage, the head of UKIP, accused the BBC of rigging the audience, and Richard Dimbleby, or David Dimbleby, one of the two, was quite offended by this. But it was obvious that it had been rigged to a certain extent, because if you think of UKIP's got 15% in the polls, out of that 100 people or so in the audience, it appeared that there was not one UKIP supporter in the audience. So it must have been rigged. Because there should have been, say there was 100 there should have been about 15 there, shouldn't there? But there didn't appear to be any. But that's by the way. So that scenario still could come about, that it could be a Tory UKIP alliance for the next government if the Eurozone has a big crisis. But you know, I'm fickle, I think, and everybody's fickle. You know, the one thing you think of at 1 minute, the next minute you might think the completely opposite. You know, human beings are fickle, and that's one thing that makes elections interesting. Now, I think the Scottish nationalists, I think they're just playing a game, because at the moment they're sort of left of Labour, and they're soaking up all the Scottish vote, and basically all they're saying is that Labour should be more left-wing. When they are far more left-wing than what they would have been if David Miliband had been the head of the Labour Party rather than Ed Miliband. So what I predict is going to happen, it'll be a hung parliament with the potential for Labour and Scottish nationalists to have a majority, but Labour aren't going to do it, and it'll be a vote by vote thing up until another general election in about in the autumn, and what will happen in that next general election is the Scottish Nationals will come to their senses, and they'll vote more Labour, and that's what Ed Miliband's hoping for. So that is what I'm thinking of in my fickle mind at the moment. That's the way I think the election's going to go. And what will happen to the Lib Dems, you ask? I think the Lib Dems will be annihilated. Because they've betrayed the student fees promise, and yeah, I think they'll be annihilated. But Labour, I would be nice thing if Labour, it was a Labour, there was enough for a Labour and Lib Dem coalition. That would be good. Right, bye for now.